Before I begin, because I know some people are going to ask before watching the entire video, yes, I do plan on streaming this game sometime this evening. I am aiming for a 6:30 to 7 p.m. Central Time. If something happens, I will post an update on Twitter letting everyone know what's going on. Or I might put an annotation on this video explaining what happened. If annotations are still a thing on YouTube, I don't know, I haven't checked that. But I'll let you guys know if something, goes haywire and I can't do the stream. But I will try to stream this game, Ultra Street Fighter 4 for the PlayStation 4 sometime this evening. And you can join me if you have a copy of the game and we can do some matches together. Now with that said, let's actually discuss what I want to discuss. And that is, looking back 10 years later, playing Street Fighter 4, or the whole Street Fighter series, and that includes the later iterations and whatnot. And this is going to be off the cuff, hardly a script, so I'm probably going to ramble and I'm probably going to repeat myself. I'll try to not do that, and I'll try to keep this video as brief as possible, maybe aiming for 20 minutes, whatever. But anyways, let's talk. You know that it's been 10 years since Street Fighter 4 came out in America on consoles. That's the date, look it up, February 17th, 2009. I was already doing a few months of YouTube at that time. It's crazy how time flies by, and I let two friends of mine know. I let Magus know, and I let an IRL friend of mine know just now, and they're both shocked at how fast time flies. But yeah, Street Fighter 4 is pretty much a decade old console-wise. It's been a decade old since the arcade games, but I am actually using the console version US release date, because that's when I started playing the game. Before Street Fighter 4 came out, before it was even announced, I have been in a huge Street Fighter kick, like at the end of my high school, beginning of my college years. And I've picked up a copy of Street Fighter Alpha Anthology for the PlayStation 2, which contained, Street Fighter Alphas 1, 2, and 3, Alpha 2 Gold, Alpha 3 Upper, which is something you can unlock. Also came with Pocket Fighter or Super Puzzle Fighter, Super Gem Fighter Mini Mix, whatever the hell it wants to call itself. And Hyper Street Fighter Alpha, where you can get different versions of different Alphas characters that'll fight against each other and stuff. And I've been playing a lot of that, and at the same time, I found a DVD copy of Street Fighter 2, the anime movie, uncut, uncensored, and unleashed. You know what? I don't want to do that much fancy editing for my video, but I'm gonna throw you, but if I can find that DVD box art, I'm gonna throw it to you right here. I mean, I've seen that movie before, but I never saw it uncut, uncensored, unleashed before. So I was in a big Street Fighter kick. And one day, I barely followed gaming news. I was not into the YouTube gaming community. I didn't even know a gaming community on YouTube existed. When I was watching YouTube, I was watching fucking anime fan subs at the time. But one day I was bored out of my mind, and I wondered, it's such a damn shame that Street Fighter ended basically after Third Strike. I wonder if there's going to be a Street Fighter 4. So I just YouTube Street Fighter 4, and no shit, there were actually teaser trailers just covering up that first page. And it was a teaser, a CG trailer of Ryu versus Ken, and it didn't look fan-made. It looked official as shit, and what do you know? It was. And then later down the line, my friend had a copy, I don't know which magazine, but he had a copy of a magazine that was covering everything about Street Fighter 4, what's it going to be and stuff. And of course, I read that fucker religiously to figure out what the game is. So it was like, okay, it's 3D graphics, but it's still going to have traditional Street Fighter gameplay. There's going to be a revenge system where ultra combos are going to be inserted, yada yada yada. And it's going to return to the Street Fighter 2 roots, which is what the vanilla game did. It got like characters all from Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, a couple from Super Street Fighter 2, those being Cammy and Fei Long, and they even put in a couple alpha characters like Yen and Sakura. So the roster was pretty cool at the time. Now, when I wanted to look up more and more about this game, I made the horrible mistake of looking into GameFAQs. And boy, it was just nothing but negativity and cynicism. People were like shitting on this game just because it was 3D and not 2D. And I will say, Street Fighter 3 has the best visuals in any Street Fighter game, bar none. It has wonderful animations and all that shit. I'm not going to deny it, but I'm not going to shoot this sequel down just because it's not Third Strike. And I will talk more about Third Strike, but I'm going to save that later this year. I think some hardcore Street Fighter fans know what I'm talking about if they check their calendars. But Street Fighter 4 just had a lot of negativity going for it. People were complaining that the roster was too similar to Street Fighter 2. Despite the fact that when Street Fighter 3 came out, people were complaining that all their favorite characters like Guile and Dhalsim were nowhere to be found. And the character designs look too gross. Apparently they're way too muscular. I don't know, man. They are pretty ripped, but it's not as bad as how they were drawn in Street Fighter 2, the animated movie. I mean, characters were fucking unbelievably ripped in that film. And this is going to segue into my origins as a YouTuber, obviously, because, well, when I started on YouTube, the first thing I talked about was Street Fighter 4. I saw, like, this one YouTuber, and he pissed and moaned about it, and he was being a biased SNK fanboy, and at the time I didn't know much about SNK, but then I dabbled later on, and I thought, oh yeah, their games are pretty cool. King of Fighters 12 looks amazing, and then it turned out it wasn't in hindsight. But anyways, I am diverting. Then I stumbled upon the ranting community with Big Al and Magus, and then that's when I had the idea that I wanted to try this little hobby. I wanted to express my voice and opinions, and I did by defending Street Fighter 4 from most of its detractors before the game even came out. I do realize that when a video game does, in fact, when something gets announced and it hasn't been released yet, like a film or movie or video game, people will always find something about it, find something to look forward to and something to criticize. I know a lot of people, and I even did it at this one point maybe, that you shouldn't judge a thing until it comes out. Let's be honest, it is okay to judge something before it comes out based on what you've seen so far. I mean, take a look at what's going on right now by the time I record this video. Everyone is ripping into that fucking Aladdin trailer because the genie, played by Will Smith, looks like a CGI blue barf monstrosity. Film's not even out yet by the time I record this. But that being said, I was still willing to defend Street Fighter 4. Now, the game did come out, and yeah, it had some balancing issues at the first, Zangief and Sagat were assholes. And this is the first time I've decided to get an Xbox Live account too. Before Street Fighter 4, I never had an XBLA account. I just didn't have the proper internet at the time. But then I did, and I decided to dabble, and I decided to put a couple matches in online, had a good time. There were also some bad times as well, but I still really like the game and I still have fond memories of it, which is why I'm talking about it right now. I've even dabbled in the tournament scene from time to time. I was hanging out with my friend Artist Gun, who you might know from some of my streams. He would join me there. He's also known as the Fighting Gentleman way back when on YouTube. But we'll just call him Art for short. Art and I actually attended at least a couple of tournaments during the time of Street Fighter 4's popularity, and we even attended one tournament together, and it was at a local cafe, no big deal, but I did win anyways, but he claims that he threw the fight for me, and it's probably true. His Vega is actually way better than my Ryu, but whatever. I had a good time. I won. I got like a couple prizes. I believe it was like a PDF of the Street Fighter 4 guide as one of them. It was fun. But then eventually I just stopped going because I just didn't have the spare money to pay an entry fee. But it did it did let me at least try it for a bit to see how I would like the tourney scene. And the tourney scene was pretty fun. It was alright. Locally, at least. It could be different anywhere else. But then, a couple months, I don't know how long after Street Fighter 4 came out, but there was a Super Street Fighter 4 announced. A lot of people joke about Street Fighter 4 and its multiple, no, Street Fighter 2 and its multiple iterations, and people thought it was going to happen with Street Fighter 4, and, you know, they were right. Super Street Fighter 4 had like 10 more new characters, including 2 new guys. Jury, who ended up being the most popular character in Street Fighter 4 actually. Hence why she's the only new Street Fighter 4 character to be in Street Fighter 5, I think. And there was Hakan, the Turkish oil wrestler. But they also wanted to add more characters, more classic characters. Guy, Cody, Adon, and that's cool and all. But then there were rumors spreading around that, finally, after abandoning Third Strike, they were going to bring in 3 more characters, and those would be Dudley, Makoto, and Ibuki. Those are 3 characters I actually really like in Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. But they really held that, they really held that off. They really delayed it. I was like, God damn it, when are they going to announce it? Then I saw some rumors, then I saw some screen caps that look official. The following day, they announced the trailer, and Art and I, when I had my Blip TV account, we actually did a reaction to the trailer. We watched it together and watched the trailer, and we both were like fucking screaming and getting excited because we were legit hyped for these characters. Both of us were big Dudley fans at the time. You know, he's basically like the antithesis of Balrog, and the fact is, he and Balrog can actually fight each other in this game. That was actually something that we look forward to, were the fucking matchups. Seeing characters like, you know, Ibuki versus Vega, or Makoto versus Fei Long. That was kind of like a dream match thing going on, because before Street Fighter 4. None of the characters from Street Fighter 3, unless it was like a Capcom vs SNK crossover, in that case it was like limited to Yoon from Yoon Lee. You never had Remy vs Guile or Alex vs Zangief, which, you know, that eventually happened in Street Fighter 5. So that was pretty awesome. I was still super excited about Super Street Fighter 4, even though it was more of the same thing, except with some balances, some changes. I noticed that Ryu's heavy Shoryuken was a 2-hitter this time. And the gameplay wise, that was another thing. It was really easy to do Dragon Punch motions in that game, for even on the Xbox controller. Like, to me, doing a DP motion was always kind of, well, not always, but it was mildly a pain in the ass for me. But here, I was doing it more times than I was doing a fireball motion, which ended up being a screw up on my behalf from time to time because the wrong move would come out. And the ultra finishers, I never really had a huge problem with being implemented in the game. Which is, if you get damaged enough, you will build an ultra meter, or in Japan they call it a revenge meter. And you will get enough meter to do an ultra combo, which does the most amount of damage in your character's moveset. And as a result, there could be a chance that they could even the odds or get the upper hand. But if you were a skilled player, you knew what you were doing, if you knew when to block and all that stuff, it wasn't that big of a deal. As for the focus attacks, they're alright, but I still prefer parries on Third Strike as an added system. I might even like the V triggers from 5 a little bit more. I am glad that EX specials have become a regular since Third Strike. Not Third Strike, Second Impact. Street Fighter 3 Second Impact. EX moves are just, you know, they add more flavor, more variety to the gameplay. And it doesn't look like they're going to be going away for a long time, so that's great. As for Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I skipped out on that entirely. I don't know the major reasons why. It might have been around during Capcom's downward spiral with some of their IPs. That was when Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out, 9 months after the vanilla game came out, which ripped fucking players off, as well as their treatment of Mega Man. I don't know if it came out around that time. And that's not really the only reason. The real reason why I did not pick up Arcade Edition was because even though they rebalanced the game, trying to make some of the other characters, more playable, more balanced, you can actually use some of the lower tier ones. But really, I didn't care as long as you added like more new content, and by more new content I mean more characters. And they added 4 characters, but none of them appealed to me. Oni Akuma, I mean, it looks nice, and his ultras look great, but it's still just another Akuma. We got Akuma, Shin Akuma, even Cyber Akuma. Do we need another one? As for Evil Ryu, that's bottom of the barrel scraping right there when it comes to picking characters, okay? I really hate Evil Ryu now. I really hate Ryu's Satsui no Hado subplot now. It used to be a fun little thing for Street Fighter Alpha. I just want him to believe it or not, I want him going back to being the boring, generic Japanese karate dude who just wants to travel around the world looking for a good fight. I'd rather him go back to that and not deal with the Satsui no Hado, which apparently, never gets brought up in Street Fighter 2. That was a thing that got introduced in Alpha. You'd think he had it done by Street Fighter 2. Never gets brought up in Street Fighter 3. But then it gets brought up in Street Fighter 4, which takes place between 2 and 3, and it gets brought up again in Street Fighter 5. So yeah, that's my little tangent on Evil Ryu. And as for the Lee brothers, Yun and Yang, I mean, they're cool characters, but I never played as them. They actually looked too technical for me to want to touch them. That's great if you were fans of those 2 characters, then Arcade Edition was perfect for you. And I believe Capcom said that there wasn't going to be like another version of Street Fighter 4 after that, which is something you shouldn't believe at all. Like, whenever they say it's an end of a franchise is over or whatever, they're going to go back on their word, especially if it makes a lot of money. But Ultra Street Fighter 4. Let's move on to that one. I didn't care that they recycled assets from Street Fighter Cross Tekken onto Ultra Street Fighter 4. Seeing Elena, Hugo, Poison, and Rolento in a good game, which Street Fighter Cross Tekken wasn't, was actually pretty awesome. And hey, I also like to play as Elena in Third Strike. Most of my friends can attest to that. And it's cool to see Hugo in there as well. And Poison playable for the second time. First time was Street Fighter Cross Tekken, but apparently we shouldn't talk about that. So just having an excuse to put those characters in this game, that was fine. Now, about the 5th new character, DeCapre. Capcom was really building this character up. They were really hyping. We're gonna have a brand new character in this series. You don't know who it is. And a lot of people were speculating. A lot of people were getting their hopes up. Now, I tempered my hopes when I saw that the new stages they also advertised in Ultra Street Fighter 4 were also stages that you would see in Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Like the Jurassic Park knockoff stage, or the skate park, or the Mad Gear hideout. That's when I went, oh, it's probably going to be a palette swap. Most likely of Cammy, it's going to be one of the dolls. And I was right, it was DeCapre. And fans fucking flipped. They hated her right when the trailer was announced. Now, have they overreacted? Probably. But at the same time, Capcom did build a lot of hype. And like I said, this was in the midst of Capcom's downward spiral too. So people were already hating Capcom to the point where it was starting to become cool to do so. But I saw how DeCapre plays, and she plays all right. She plays awesome. I have some friends who actually love playing as her. Whatever. at least I get to play as Elena. That's really all that matters to me. And that leads us to where we are right now. Overall, I don't know where I would rank the Street Fighter 4 series in this Street Fighter franchise. It's definitely not the Street Fighter 3 series. That's still number one to me. But I don't know if it's better than Alpha or worse than Alpha. I would definitely play Street Fighter, basically Ultra Street Fighter 4 over Street Fighter 2. I would definitely play Street Fighter 4 over Street Fighter 5. So it might rank second or third place. I may have to play the game more to find out how I really feel. Which, as I said before in this video, I'll reiterate again, I do plan on streaming Ultra Street Fighter 4 for the PlayStation 4, and if there's some people that want to join me in a few matches, I am willing to, invite you to the party, join me in the live stream, we can chat, we can play against each other, have a good time. Because at the end of the day, regardless of Street Fighter 4's problems, and it did have a few, I still really love this game. It did bring a resurgence to the 2D fighting genre, or at least it brought more attention to it. Because before Street Fighter 4, I thought it was just me playing, niche fighting games like Guilty Gear, and I was also dabbling in King of Fighters at the time. But there was like there was hardly a tourney scene. There was like one tourney scene where the prize was win a copy of Street Fighter 4. And it was a third strike tourney that Art participated in. I just watched him at that time. Also, the Street Fighter craze did introduce me to Matt and Wooly, formerly of the Super Best Friend cast. And I still watch their content regularly, and it's fun to listen to those guys, and Pat as well. Like Street Fighter 4, I still look back at it, and I have nostalgia goggles for it, which is weird because those 10 years fly by. But I had a lot of fun playing Street Fighter 4. Whether it's vanilla, super, arcade edition, I played it a little bit, my friend had a copy of it, or even the recent Ultra Street Fighter 4. I have fun, and that's really what matters to me. Is that do I enjoy myself playing this game? Well, I think that is everything. Like I said, I hope I get a stream out this evening. I got a few errands to run out of town, but I'll let you know if something happens on my Twitter, which you can follow me. I'll post a link below. But with that, you can post your comments, tell me what your thoughts on Street Fighter 4, or what was your history like, or whatever. I'll read those paragraphs, since YouTube actually allows paragraph-long responses for now. And before I sign out, I actually have another anniversary video that I'm going to upload this week. I'm not going to do this a lot. I'm going to do this with this and one more thing. But it's something that you're probably not going to expect. But I'm going to invite a couple people, and we're going to have a roundtable discussion about this thing, which, yeah, again, expect that to be somewhere in the middle of the week. Okay? Yeah. And with that, Darkscream signing out.